Ladies and gentlemen, Hard to Kill, episode 116. Special guest with us tonight, Ryan Kuperus. What's going on, brother?
What's up, brother? Not too much.
Yeah.
Excited to be here.
Thank you. I appreciate you taking the time, man. So Ryan, I came across you on Urban Valor. You killed that interview. I loved. I mean, you just got a personality for it, man. I love listening to you. You're very thorough, and something that I love when the GWAT guys get on these podcasts. It's the little details.
Right.
It really brings you into the moment, and it kind of, if guys can like recount those little details, you just know he ain't bullshit, and it gives you a little feel for what it is, man. And I love to see it. So if anyone's living under a rock in on for my followers, could you just give them a little bit about yourself, man? Tell us a little bit about your Marine Corps career, and tell us a little bit about you, man.
Yeah. Went in the Marine Corps in 2000, August 2000, be exact, about 24 years ago. Was an infantryman. Did my first 4 years in 2-6. We were the first MEO out after 9/11. We did the invasion. Then we went to Oki. Um, did some work down in the Philippines there as well. I actually got out for a year and a half, almost 2 years, and did the reserves and played some lacrosse in college.
Oh, nice.
And then, went back in the Marine Corps. Went to recon and force recon, special operations training group, and retired actually out of Wounded Warrior Battalion. I did about, 17.
Okay. What
Got
what year
back
did
and
you what,
retired.
what year did you come back in?
2006.
Okay.
So I got out in '04, went back in 2006.
Okay. That's right. We had this conversation. So you were in also for 9/11.
Yep.
Talk about that for a little bit.
Uh, I actually talked to a couple of dudes at this. I go to this the old dirty bastards breakfast like first of the month if I can go, a bunch of old recon Marines, and uh, we're sitting there talking, and we were like, the one guy's about to be a battalion commander now, I think for like 2-1 or something, and he's like, I want to hire people to just show guys what it was like pre-war. You know what I mean? Just like pre 9/11 was a whole different
Completely
Marine
different
Corps.
vibes.
Right. Yeah. Like, it was, a bored Marine, right? Is a trouble Marine, right?
Yeah.
So like you were not bored, right? Whether it's like, like gear inspections, wall locker inspections, weapon inspections, like PT'd and getting thrashed, you were not bored.
They found something for you.
Yeah, and I actually saw my CO from that era when I was first in the grunts, at the charitable organization
Oh, wow.
symposium in Camp Lejeune. I haven't seen that dude since 2003.
And
His table is like right across from mine, and we were talking, and there was like when we did the train up for the McCree, right? Like literally, we'd go to the field. Right, end of the week was a hump, right? Or you're in the field for 2 weeks, 72. In the field for 2 weeks, 96. Right, in the field for 3 days, or
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
most of the week, right? Hike at the end of the week, bam, like off early. It was a different time, and then 9/11 happened, and it was like I was telling somebody, yeah, like the other day, like back, like, oh yeah, why'd you go in the Marines? They're like, oh yeah, because I want to kill people, right? And this was like pre-war, so the only people that you might get lucky, right, would be the Marines. Everybody knows the Marines you can always get lucky as a Marine, right? But like it was a super like immature kind of like
Yeah.
mentality, right? I'm gonna go in the Marines so I can kill people, like and then like 9/11 happens, right? And then you're like, this is
Now
happening.
that's okay. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, this is what we came in here to do. But yeah, it was a complete, like, you could feel, because we were getting ready to chop to the Mew when 9/11 happened, and so we were like sitting at Fort Bragg,
Okay.
and we had like a battalion fighting position in the middle of Fort Bragg, because like
Really? It was
yeah,
like that? Of
concertina wire, like the whole deal, because like nobody knew what was going on.
course, of course.
You know,
What was the first word you got, dude?
we were doing a trench clearing range, and we had just got done with our dry run, and we were getting ready to start our live run. And the Humvee driver had like one of them wind up radios, or battery powered
Yeah,
radios. But I swear, I think it was wind up one. But anyways, he was like, "Hey, you guys need to hear this. A plane just ran into the first tower." And like we were around the radio, and they're talking about the second plane hitting. We started to do our live run, and it was a platoon. It was a platoon like for that, size evolution for that. And in the middle of our live run, they called us cold, and like,
damn.
bam, but like, yeah, it was wild,
Bro,
you know.
bro, like how the word gets jacked up in the lower ranks in the Marines. You know what I'm saying? When some shit
Oh
goes,
yeah,
you remember the J-Lo thing?
yeah,
If the J-Lo thing can get going like that, I can only imagine the word for 9/11. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, oh yeah, yeah. I mean, dude, like the last Corporal Underground. You know what I mean? Like we had a dude in our platoon, and we were on the MEU that deployment, right? So we had this one dude, and it was like he knew the word before everyone else, and it was like, dude, there's no way that we're
yeah,
doing that. Like, it's not happening, right? And like by the end of the day, like the platoon sergeants down there, like saying the exact same thing, or like we knew this word like 2 days prior. We're like, dude, how'd
yep,
you get that word,
yep,
man?
yep.
And you're like, oh, my buddies are working up in the wardroom, or
He's over
he's
at Sipper. Yeah,
yeah, right. He's working in the flag mess, right? And then he heard the ship's captain talking to
yep.
the
That's how it
command
goes,
about
bro.
it,
That's how it
right?
goes.
And I'm like, dude, it's like a damn intel network, man. Dude, if the FBI worked like that, they'd actually
Right?
be effective.
Yeah, we'd be good, dude. Shit, that's
Yeah.
so okay. So you're down at Bragg, the word gets cracking. What's the first thing you're thinking, dude? Because I can't even imagine dude, I was in sixth grade and you're in the Marines. I mean, it's all of a sudden it's real.
Dude, yeah, it was like, oh, we're chopping to the MEU, right? Like we're deploying. That's obviously September. We deployed in I think February, right? So it was like, yes, we are going to whoop it on. They're like, this is happening.
Yeah.
This is, and like, I worked for the Force Recon platoon for the Maritime Special Purpose Force on that deployment. So it was like, if anybody's going to go do
Damn.
something, it's going to be the MSPF, baby. So like, like no kidding, like tip of the spear,
What are you at the time for rank?
Lance Corporal.
Lance Cooley when the
Boot.
9/11
Oh
goes,
yeah.
damn, dude.
Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Shit.
Boot, boot, boot. Like
So
bootest, youngest dude in the whole platoon, probably.
so
I'm
you
gonna
had
think
the
that.
the interceptor flags back then?
Oh
The old,
yeah,
old M16?
yeah. M16. Look, we had M16A2, and I had a Maglite hose clamp to the bottom of it. That's that was it.
Now, are you flat back Humvees or are you dismounted?
Yeah, yeah. No armor, no none of that. Yeah,
Yep. Okay.
yeah, man.
That's just such a wild time in the Marines, dude. And the only I mean, don't get me wrong, we have guys like, when I went in, my seniors that were down there when that happened. But the only the best video evidence, if you will, have you ever seen Generation Kill?
Yeah, yeah.
That is that like the time era like that they're rolling around. I mean, that was
Oh
a little
yeah.
after. That was a little after,
Oh
but
yeah. That was. I mean, that was the invasion. I was there
yep,
for the invasion.
yep, yep.
That's it. That is how it was. Like legit, like we had sandbags on the floor of the vehicles because we were like, yeah, if we hit a landmine, that'll stop the mine. You know
Now
what I
were IEDs like prevalent right then? Were you getting word
mean?
on them? No.
No IEDs or I mean landmines, but
Yeah.
not IEDs. You know what I
Gotcha.
mean?
Now, if you were getting like kinetics over there at that time, what's it looking like, dude? Is it just like, pop shots, like a couple hundred meters out, muzzle
During
flashes, and
during the invasion, dude, man, the invasion for me kind of sucked. I mean, it was kind of disappointing, honestly, right?
gotcha.
Like,
Just all over the place.
it was like, yeah, because we were one of the few East Coast units that went to the invasion, and the rest of Gulf Company actually they had to stay at Camp Commando and do camp guard. And
Oh
my
no.
platoon, hell yeah, dude, my platoon attached to Sergeant Major Z, or he was first sergeant time, to Echo Company, and we went in Iraq with them. And we were like, oh my gosh, thank goodness, man, because it would
Yeah.
suck to be camp
That
guard right
would
now,
suck,
you
dude.
know?
Oh man, I couldn't imagine, especially at that time, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like that would have
Yeah.
blown.
but dude, it was wild. It was wild because like you think about how things moved, like when were you in Afghanistan? You know,
Uh, I was in Afghanistan 10 and 11.
right. So like just think even like then, right? Think about how efficiently and how
Oh,
like how things moved. It just was not like
it
that.
wasn't like
You know what
that.
I mean? It
Yeah.
was not like that, dude. You know, like we outran our supply train, and like so we were like down to one MRE a day. Dudes are
Oh,
shooting Pidgeots in Al Koup with wrist rockets and cooking them in their canteen cup.
isn't that like the best Marine Corps though? Don't get when it's really getting shitty, dude. Marines make it work. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
absolutely.
And it's
Uh,
those
yeah,
like ghetto ways that you make it work, but you learn to
yeah,
live.
yeah,
Seriously, you do. And when
yeah.
I think of stuff like that, dude, I think of like how do we keep the water cold when we had no way to refrigerate or anything like that? You get a wet sock, you
Yep.
hang near a
We did
fan,
it. Yeah, we did the same thing during
little
the
things like
invasion.
that, dude. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
Yeah,
love shit like that.
that I mean, shoot. We were we were doing security around this ASP, man, and we had bombed like the aircraft had bombed a few of them. So like the filaments for the artillery shells
Oh,
and
yep.
all this
Yep.
bullshit is all over the place. So we would take the filaments and we'd stick them in pop up. We shot off a couple pop ups into the ground, and
Yep.
we were sticking the filaments in there. We made like little wings on them, made bottle rockets out of shit.
Or like the MRE bombs, dude. You remember those?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. We
Yeah.
actually we did that. We MRE bombed the dang the force recon platoon
Oh, that's always the best.
before my first deployment. Let me tell you something right now. No, they did not find it as funny as we did, man. You know, like when you do something like to your like uncle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's funny as you know it's funny, but your uncle
Yeah.
does not think it's funny, and then like
Exactly.
it's no longer funny.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it was that feeling, right? Because they're
You
like,
know
who
you're
the
gonna get your
fuck?
ass whooped, but everyone's
Oh
like,
yeah, we're about to get
yeah.
yeah. Right.
That's
I'm like a
gotcha.
Lance Corporal, man. They're like team leaders were gunnies, man. Like
Gotcha. Gotcha.
the youngest dude in the platoon was a sergeant. I'm like, oh my God, we're about to get fucked up.
So at this time, dude, I mean, being the first guys in, dude, like it's always awesome to have like, guys before you because they come back, they put you onto some stuff. They are the ones that like get fucked up a little bit and learn how to live through some of the like different TTP or SOP bullshit over there. Um, what's it like being the first one in? Because officer wise, you guys really haven't done it before, and you're really like learning on the fly. Um,
Yeah.
what are some things that maybe like were hard to figure out a little bit, but maybe after a couple whatever went down, you learned how to figure it out and I don't know, get a little more organized about it. I'm being kind of vague, I
No,
know, but
no, no. I get kind of what you're driving at. I mean, like, dude, some of the simple things, right? Like, we're going into Iraq. We don't know when we're coming back. What do you pack?
exactly,
Right? Like,
exactly.
dude, I had no joke. I had a case of Snicker bars in the bottom of my pack, and I bust those things out like 30 days after we're in country, and I forgot they were down there. But like, it was just like, what do you
Exactly.
like? What you don't know when you're coming back? Like,
Yep.
what's your priorities, right? To pack in this ruck you got to live out of, which by the way was like the Molly 2, which is still a piece of shit
Yep.
pack. I took a Alice frame and I zip tied it with those heavy duty zip ties to that frame, so that way at least I had like
Yep.
support.
Zip
But
ties are
like
super clutch.
we're wearing mop suits,
Okay.
right?
Oh, you're not
There's
in
like
camis?
no, we're in
Okay.
mop suits,
Gotcha.
right? So we got an extra mop suit in our ruck and a set of camis.
Okay.
We're wearing a mop suit, which like you're naked underneath because there ain't no point in freaking wearing
Are you
anything
sweating like a
underneath.
motherfucker in those? Or are they
Oh
light?
yeah, they're
Yeah. Okay.
terrible.
Yeah, I thought so.
It's like wearing a snowsuit in the summertime. Like
Exactly. Like a sauna suit. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Okay.
exactly. Yeah. And like, so like there's like stuff like that. They're like, what am I gonna have in like what I don't even know when I'm coming back. Like what should I have in here the most of or whatever. That kind of stuff. And then just like you really like if you think like during training evolutions or like you're in the rear and like you don't know like what's going on. Like, oh, they said or this or
They
you know, you
said, yeah.
you don't know what's going on. Well, you know what? you really don't know what's going on when you're freaking convoying down,
That's what I'm saying.
wherever,
West Coast. Yeah.
whatever. Yeah. And then you got to deal with like one dude almost dropped freaking mortars on us while we're doing a patrol,
Oh, friendly
right? Because
fire.
he didn't realize that when we called that we were outside the frick, we're out doing this frickin' local security patrol, right? He forgot we were doing that or whatever, so we hear him start calling up a fire mission on the
Oh,
freaking on the net, right? Thank goodness we had comms and they shut that shit down. Thank goodness. Um, right, like just it was then, right? So I was a 20-year-old squad leader in the invasion, right? And that was, and a bunch of dudes in our platoon, they came from 1-6. They're like, all right, we need people. Like, boom, came. So we had a
so
bunch of
you
new
don't even
dudes.
know people. Yeah.
The other two squad leaders in my platoon, they had just got there, or three, whatever. What do we have? Four? Yeah, I think we actually, yeah, maybe we did have four. Me, three. All right, we had three. So, anyways, freaking them dudes just got there. So we'd never worked together as a platoon before.
And
There's no
talk about that,
training.
dude. Talk about not being working with some guys and having to be in a kinetic environment. Where's your head at with that? Because you don't know what he's good at. I mean, you don't know who to trust. I mean,
I
how,
mean,
how do you do that on the fly?
you're just figuring it out real quick. I mean, and they're in right again. Like I said, it's kind of disappointing. Like because really it was like we got some mortars, or we got hit by a seersucker missile the day the invasion started. We were still in Kuwait for that, and like in Iraq it was like some mortars, some pot shots. Like we didn't get into any like amazing gunfights,
Gotcha.
and that
Gotcha.
really sucks.
Of course. Of
Because
course.
dude, we rolled past Nazareth, and I was like, hey, look, oh, that's Nazareth, like over there, right? And we like drove by like waving, right? Like, oh,
Oh,
see ya. You
here we
we're,
go.
we're in Al Koup, right? And I mean, we were in all these, we were like, like right there, like right there. Like it was like like almost. And, like what kind of lunatic, like really is like, yeah, I really want to get into the freaking gunfight, but it's like, we're right here. Like, why are we not over there? You know
It's
what I
such a
mean?
surreal feeling, dude, when you're right there and you
Right.
see shit popping off and you're a trained motherfucking killer and you guys are just foaming at the mouth and it's I know exactly what you
Dude,
mean.
we're doing patrols. We're like, who? How do we goad people into like? And the ROEs, dude,
No way, I've been there. I've
dude,
been
the
there.
ROEs, dude, literally the ROEs.
What ROEs?
If you see someone wearing a black dish dash, shoot them, right? Because they're Saddam Fayadin,
That's
right? Like
crazy.
there was shoot on sight. Yeah,
That's
right. It's
beautiful.
like, how do we goad people into a gunfight? You know what I mean?
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Like we would have like the sniper platoon, like we would have like discussions with those guys. Like,
Of
all right,
course. Are
if
we
we
gonna do
put
this?
guys there and then you guys patrol here, I think shitheads are gonna shoot at
I
you.
think we're good to go.
Right? Yeah. 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 So
Who's what are they telling you to look at for enemies at that time? Is it Iraqi locals? I mean, not regulars? Like, is it Saddam's guard or
Saddam Fayadin, right? So they were like the biggest, concern of everybody.
gotcha.
Um, like
So mortars were a thing, and what were Scuds a thing right then?
oh yeah, yeah. Day one of the invasion, that like the Patriot missile batteries did a great job. They blew like 10 of those suckers out of the sky above our heads.
That's wild.
I mean, like, dang freaking alarm would go off, like throw your gas mask on, and and
Asshole puckers
freaking
up. Yeah,
they were getting busted up right above our heads. It was
that's
pretty freaking
wild.
wild. Yeah.
So, how long were you over there for?
I think we went over there in like February, I feel like maybe.
Okay,
Came back in June,
gotcha. Okay.
something like that ish.
Now coming back from that, man. You're a land. I mean, are you corporal at the time when you're coming
Yeah,
back,
I
or
was a corporal at the time. Yeah.
newly minted corporal? Do you remember where your head was at?
Yeah, I do, because it was like, man, I felt like I had the world by the balls,
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. That's what I mean.
right,
GI
man?
Joe.
Yeah, dude, you're a freaking corporal squad leader. Like I was a newly minted martial arts instructor before we went over there too. So it was like we did a lot of freaking just fighting and
Yep.
brawling, and just
Yep.
that stuff.
Got to stay busy, right?
And it was like focus on having the best trained squad in the company, their platoon slash battalion slash, or all that. Just
Do you know
and
how
because
do you know how you go over there initially and maybe you might think a certain way and
yeah.
maybe you go through some stuff and your mindset changes? Did any of that happen to you?
Um. Oh yeah, for sure. Because you like, I found that I was not really worried about myself, like myself, but I was worried about my men, right? Like as a leader, any kind of leader, right? You're worried that you're going to make a poor decision and you're going to get your men injured or killed. So that definitely was a very different shift in not really a shift in thought, because like anybody who's a leader like feels that way, you know what I mean? But like the gravity of that, like weighing on you is
Of
is,
course. Now me and you have talked before. We talk leadership a lot.
yeah.
That's a great segue into the next little bit here. Um, I'm sure that might be the first time that you got a visual example of maybe some poor leadership. Um, coming back from a deployment like that, as a corporal, you're going to be going over again.
Right.
Uh, so what are some things that you're maybe pushing to your guys? Maybe if you got, maybe some boot guys or some new guys, you guys are going back over there. What do you
uh so when we got back, we bunch of dudes left, so we got a boot drop.
tell?
So those dudes, man, they kind of had it bad. They had it rough.
Yeah,
Those
I bet they do.
fellas. But the guy, it was weird because usually like do deployment, like a long, like normal deployment, like because that was kind of a shorter one. But you have this big deployment, boot drop, train up type thing. Well, we had a boot drop prior to the invasion. Then we got another one. We got home from the invasion, and it was weird because like I'm still like like talking to my boots like they're the boots, but
Oh
they're
yeah.
not the boot is for the boot in the
Yeah, yeah,
platoon
yeah, yeah,
now,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
But for my guys, like I identified who had the qualities that I thought was needed to be like a squad leader after
And
I was
talk,
gone.
talk talk about those qualities.
Um, you know, for one, being hard, right? In the grunts, right? Like being hard.
Necessary.
Yeah, definitely necessary. Like, and not just like being hard, but be able to, throw hands too, right? Like being a good fighter.
Now we're not talking about that because it's like just like cool or just to be a tough guy for no reason. That is imperative in a line company.
Right.
You need to just have that. I don't know if it's fear, but it is, fear commands respect, and you need to be somewhat someone looks at in a line company, and maybe have a little bit of worry to cross.
Right.
You need to command that
Yeah.
respect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, 100%. Like you don't want to be the squad leader who gets choked out by all those guys because you're a terrible ground fighter.
exactly.
You get knocked out boxing because can't
Then
take
all
a
of a sudden you're not the person that we need in the job.
right. And like in that, especially in the grunts, right? Like there does need to be that fear, right? That instant obedience to orders is a real thing, right? The mission in Marine Rifle Squad is not an easy task.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so there does need to be all of that. So it's identifying that type of person, right? But also needs to have some charisma, right? Is responsible, right? You can be a great fighter, right? You can know all the freaking infantry knowledge in the world, right? But then you could still be a liability when it comes to other areas,
Facts.
right?
Facts.
Like so you got to and you got to play the game, like my biggest problem, even with myself and the grunts, is that I was looking at it as a contract, right?
Mm.
Instead of just a job. This is my job, right? I mean, I was doing the total marine concept anyways, at least trying to, right? Being like knowing everything there was to be about being an 0311,
Yep.
right? An 0311 squad leader, right? Setting the example, right? Doing all that stuff, but you still got to freaking have an edge, right? You still got to
Of
be a freaking tough motherfucker,
course.
right? And to me, you can't be afraid to, right? part of
Second guess.
part of your whole freaking little, when you pick up corporal back in the day, I don't know what the damn promotion warrants say now, right? It's like influence the new, right, and the old.
That's
Right.
exactly
So
what.
you got to be able to be assertive, right?
There are times that you're going to get some word, and you might not think it's the right thing to do, and
Yeah.
that's not an easy thing. That's not an. I think that is right there one of the most imperative things to do as a leader, because there are times you're going to get some word that you're like, what the fuck? No, like that's just not
Yeah.
safe. That's not the right thing to do. And a lot of times like that, as a leader, when you know something's wrong, sometimes you're gonna not worry about getting in trouble and or like maybe getting an NJP for the better of the men. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
And I think we've seen a few examples of that. And I don't want to be called an armchair quarterback or anything like that, but we know what happened in the HKI airport and the pullout of Afghanistan. And
Right.
there was an IED at the main gate. We had an individual that had PID, and he radioed up, and he got one of these. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? And in a situation like that, listen, this is just my opinion, and I'm not saying he was wrong, because I understand there was tons of things going on, and I wasn't there, and I don't know everything, but I got the basics. And it's something like that because the reason I'm talking about that, because I've been in a similar situation to that.
Right.
And I had to make a decision, and I did get in a little bit of trouble for it, but I was okay. It
Yeah.
was like a little page 11, and my guys were safe, and that's all that
Right.
mattered.
Right.
And
Right.
something like that, sometimes you have to second guess some bad word, to do something like that. So you guys are good. Have you ever experienced something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of times that you got to pass bad word, or you got to do something that you do not agree with, and at times, there's times where you're told something and you're like, this, no, hey, like, we can do this in this way, right? Or
Yep.
here's a better plan, right? Or let's red sell this thing a little bit
Yep.
more,
Adjust
right?
on the
and
fly.
and
Yep.
there's times where that works, that will change, but then there's other times where, like, your boss's boss
Yeah.
is the one that's saying, hey, you guys are going to do this,
Yeah.
right? Like, make it happen.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And all you got to, I mean, the only thing that you can do is deliver the bad news and be right next to your guys
Yeah.
while you're
And
doing
suffer
whatever,
with them. Suffer with them.
right?
Yeah.
Said stupid shit's going down, right? And you're
I
right
think
there with them,
it's
you know?
making tough calls with incomplete information on the fly. That's the Marine Corps, baby.
Yeah, like in that book, Leadership and Training for the Fight, it says an 80% solution executed with 100% violence of action is
Bam.
better than 100% solution executed with 80% violence of action. And
I
I
agree
I mean,
completely.
I truly believe that too,
I agree.
100%. So
Okay, so we were just talking about your first deployment, being over there, and I can see being over there at that time. It was probably a gaggle fuck, dude, because you know, new place, no one, we hadn't really been deploying. Everyone's over there. It's chaotic. You already know. Shit can be all over the place in a situation like that. So, okay, let's fast forward. What's the next pump?
next pump would be Okinawa and
Okay,
the Philippines.
okay,
And that was, I mean,
training.
that was pretty fun. I mean, we're up at Schwab.
Ooh,
Went
Schwabe.
up to, oh yeah, yeah. Went up to the mainland, up to Mount Fuji, did some training up there. Went to
Fuji,
Tokyo
baby.
and
Yep.
Roppongi.
Oh yeah,
Actually,
Rapungi too. Yep.
we actually found my first team leader passed out in a freaking alley, drunk, and he pissed and shit himself. That was pretty fun. Like,
Yeah.
dude, no, in one night, my buddy gets knocked out by a little Japanese dude, like
Nice.
Mr. Miyagi,
Yep.
like bam, and then spinning back, kicked him in the face and knocked him out.
Running his mouth.
Dude, just crushed his soul. And and then we're like walking back to our hotel, and like we see these boots in this alley, and my buddy's like, "Oh man, that's McWilliams, that's Chuck's boots." I'm like, "No, it's not." He goes, "Dude, look at those boots." And like he used to wear like just like the work boots, like the logger boots, right?
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah,
what he wore.
yeah.
Like that's it. I mean, the dude's from Woodstock, Connecticut. Freaking Mason. I think he's doing masonry work even right now. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he's doing that though. But like he would get tore up from the floor up, and he was in the alley, passed out. Right, and we're like, all right, come on, bud, let's bring him back to the hotel. Right, throw him in the shower, and just let him soak, man.
Nice,
So,
nice.
but yeah, did some training with the Japanese up in northern Japan, and then I took my squad down to the Philippines and
All right.
worked for the task force for a while.
How'd you like the Philippines?
Oh, dude, that was some of the best time I've ever had in the Marine Corps,
I
honestly.
agree. I loved it down there too.
Yeah, because they had just moved. It was a company-sized mission and went down to squad size. They had moved to a new compound, and so we redid all their, security measures and SOPs and
Nice.
SOP and all that. So the SF major, he and I, Jack Steele, and got along very well. I mean, it was fun. Like
What year is this?
to beginning 2004.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So what are you hearing at that time about the Middle East? I mean, I'm sure, being you're maybe a young sergeant at this time, you're keeping your ear to the
Yeah.
ground. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
just
Like,
yeah, just got promoted to sergeant, right? Yeah, like
gotcha.
January. Yeah, January 2004. So,
Nice.
um, dude, I mean, stuff in the Iraq was like starting to like you're starting to like hear it kind of pop back off, so to speak. Like a lot of unrest and all that. Um, and yeah, like guys are going back there. Like Afghanistan almost wasn't like Afghanistan didn't exist, but we knew there was dudes there, but
Focus wasn't there. Yeah.
mostly Muse were going in there, and really you didn't hear a whole lot about it.
Gotcha.
They caught a whole bunch of Al Qaeda and a bunch of other terrorist dirtbags while we were in when we were in the Philippines. So when I got before we went to the Philippines, I had no idea there was over 1,000 different terrorist organizations in the Philippines.
Really?
Hell yeah! And so when we were down there, when we're purposely again, yeah, right, the grunt mentality. We're purposely driving through the Muslim section of town to try to get them to shoot at us. Right? Like, yeah, I got 4 Mitsubishi quad cab turbo diesel trucks, all blacked out
Nice.
for that much of the windshield. Right? A Filipino guy weld them out, so we put a 240 on my truck.
That's dope.
So we'd have a dude wearing a balaclava on there. And we had a fully armored Jeep Cherokee, a fully armored
No
van.
shit.
Oh yeah, man. So we'd be like, gotta go to the airport to pick up a VIP. Like on the way there, we're going through the Muslim section of town.
Poking the old hornet's nest. I like it.
You know, there's these dudes over there called the Guardians, and like most of them are like Filipino Marines, and like they're chucking hand grenades in the Muslim people's houses and
Oh
crap.
shit.
And oh, dude,
Dude, honestly, that stuff right there, the mounted convoy ops is my favorite shit, dude. When you have just a streamlined team of guys that are working like just together for a while in like a convoy ops section, when it comes together, I just love that feeling when it's just
oh yeah,
banging on all cylinders, dude, and you trust everybody and you get your vehicle movements down, dude. It's just I love that. I love
yeah.
how that works.
Yeah. Like I mean, especially when we're talking like civilian vehicles. Like
That's what I
dude,
mean.
if I could find one of those little turbo diesel trucks, like that
Yeah,
that exact model, right? I would rock the hell out of
love
one
those
because those
things.
things were fun.
Go through
Off-road
anything.
tires,
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
dude, they were we had a good time down there for and the SF guys were teaching us like all the driving stuff they
So
knew. Like we had a range in this gravel pit. Legitimately, we would shoot in this gravel pit, and you could see the tracers from the 240 freaking skipping off the
skipping.
rocks and going off in the town. Right, just the tracer burn off was somewhere out over town. Right, you're like, dude, I don't know where those rounds are going. Right, but nobody cared.
No one cared. That's hilarious.
You yeah. So it was a great time down there.
Okay. So when does Afghanistan start getting big for you?
2009.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because I got out, then came back in. Then before we went there, we were supposed to go to, or I was supposed to go to Iraq. Got in a Humvee rollover and broke my femur, my back,
Ooh.
fractured my forehead, a couple other,
Oh,
broke
where
my
was
nose,
this?
5 spots, 29 palms.
Oh, was
Yeah.
it training evolution? Was this CAX?
Yeah. Mojave Viper. I think that's what they're calling it back then.
Yep.
Like, dude, me and 29 Palms, we don't get along, man. Like that's it. Like first time I went there was like right 2 weeks after I got to the fleet. So we go like we're going 29 Palms for CAX, right? And dude, it snowed out there. Man, I'm from upstate New York. I didn't even know it snowed in the desert. I didn't even know it got cold in the desert, man. It
That
snowed like probably 4 inches. Six,
what?
dude, yeah. Yeah.
And you don't have anything, right, for cold
Dude,
weather gear.
dude, a woolly pulley, your Poly Pro, right? I don't even think we had the green fleeces back then. Maybe no, I don't even think we had the fleeces. But you want to know what? Even if we had the fleeces, now you can wear outside your camis
No,
anyway.
no, no.
You know what I'm
You're
saying?
freezing your dicks off. Okay.
Yeah, right, exactly. Which I don't. What I never even like hit me probably like 2 years ago. Right, I've been retired for a minute, but I'm like, why didn't I ever think about the Carhartt Sherpa
Yes.
vests? You know,
Yeah.
the one with the deep V.
I agree. I love those, dude.
With the deep V, because you could wear that under your cami
Yep.
top,
And
keeps
your
you
arms are free.
warm,
Yep. Yep.
right? They're not going to see it because it's got that deep V. I'm like, why didn't I think about that? Like, I don't know, 20 years
That's
ago.
so true. That's so true. I
Dang.
love that thing, dude. I wear that anytime I'm working outside in the winter. You're
Right.
right.
Right. It's like that. It's like that perfect warming
It
layer
is. It is.
that me, you, and none of our buddies thought of.
Yeah, no shit. No
Because that
shit.
would like probably make sense.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
especially back then,
Yeah,
there was
exactly.
shit for freaking
Facts.
weather
I hear
gear,
you.
Yeah, so the first time I went there, it snowed. Second time I went there, I broke all those all that stuff.
What happened?
My driver, we were convoying out to the training area. My driver, everyone went right. My driver turned left, which, like my driver, he was half Pakistani, half Irish. So I'm like, dude, naturally, he's our team driver. You know what I'm saying?
That's the
Uh,
one.
yeah, that's the one, man. Clearly the Irish side of him won out over the Pakistani, like
I
cat,
get, yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know? So, dude, I mean, the guy, he's a great dude. I mean, he's a lawyer now.
Really?
Oh yeah, he's a lawyer now. He's my Slack man in that team, right? And like
It's
I'm doing
funny.
a brief one time, and we're this like before this accident, we're doing this brief. I see him like counting, right? And we get done. I'm like, yeah, is there any questions? He's like, yeah, hey, Koup, did you know that you said the F bomb 47 times or whatever during that mission brief?
That's
I said,
hilarious.
can you point out where our insert point is, Mikey? Right? He goes, no, I can't.
I'm just worried about the fox.
I'm like, dude, start doing 8 counts right now.
It's good
But yeah,
shit.
no, so yeah, he freaking zigged when he should have zagged, and I was like, "Hey, turn right," and he turned to the right and hit some soft sand or something, rolled it over 2 or 3 times. Like I remember the first roll, but I don't remember anything else after that. So
Damn.
when I came to, like my leg was broken.
Oh,
I was just my femur was probably half an inch from popping out of my skin.
oh,
The trunk ripped off and landed on my leg. The door was like not even probably a foot from my head.
damn.
Yeah, it was rough, dude.
That's probably one of your worst injuries, no?
Oh yeah, it's definitely 100% the worst.
Yeah. Oh. So how long did it take to get 100% after that?
I've never been 100% from that. I
I was
mean,
gonna say.
honestly, I went to Mountain Leaders to the Mountain Leaders course 8 months after that accident, and that was a huge mistake because well, I ran the slowest PFT I ever ran in my life. I mean, you're at altitude too, which is terrible. But that course, my body hurt. Like I was not
Oh,
ready, for that. Like I was not completely healed from all the trauma that my body had been through. But I mean, I went out there and
bang
did
out.
well.
Yeah.
I knocked it out.
You think that's kind of like an unspoken about art of like, the Marine Corps or even just maybe the grunts is just, getting through it no matter what and working hurt. Because I can't tell you how many guys I know injured, multiple different injuries, and they make do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like I think there's like multiple like parts of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
'Cause,
I
like
agree.
by the time that you like actually go and get checked out, you're so boogered up that like you're, you
That's
know,
you too, dude. I procrastinate anything with like that shit too, dude. I
yeah,
just
no,
make do. I make do.
yeah, same. And that's what and that's like what that accident taught me. Like, hey, when something's messed up, I better like take care of
Yeah,
it.
I
You know,
agree. I agree.
I mean, I still didn't do a good job at that,
I feel
but
like that's something that's passed down to in the Marine Corps, dude. Like just stay mission ready no matter what. Duct
yeah,
tape that shit, fucking, make it work because you know what? You're gonna lose an opportunity or you're gonna,
right. Yes, I think yeah, like all that, right? Like, and you're scared that like, oh, dude, if I let's say I've got a torn MCL. If I find out I got a torn MCL, I'm not going to go on this deployment,
see you
right? Like
later.
I'm not doing that. Maybe I'll get checked out after this
Yeah,
deployment,
after the deployment.
right? Yeah, after the deployment.
Yeah,
You
we'll
know
take
what I
care of
mean?
everything.
I'll get checked out then. And then it's like you don't want to, like let yourself down. You don't want to let your
Exactly. That's a thing,
friends down,
dude.
right?
I think that's
Like,
something that definitely I realized I had to change once I got, into the civilian back into out of the military. You know what I mean? Because I had that same mentality, dude. I never would go to the doctor. I'd stay. I take care of myself always with CVS stuff and duct tape or whatever the fuck.
yeah, 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 yeah. Same here. Um,
So, okay, so Afghanistan, man. I mean,
yeah,
fuck. I mean, Afghanistan. I feel like at the you said '08,
2009.
2009. Okay. So shit, dude. That what Afghanistan's getting gnarly at that point. Uh,
Yeah.
so you're going over there and you're dismounted or are you mounted?
So when we first got there, my platoon detached from our company and we flew up to Nowzad to work for 2-3 up in Ops Box Tripoli.
Yep.
So we were, I mean, dismounted because we flew there. We literally flew there with our rucks and some Pelican cases, and that was it.
Gotcha.
A couple weeks later, probably maybe a month later, they flew us back down the Leatherneck to get vehicles. So we got a Max Pro and we got
I love
like
those.
4 or 5 gun trucks,
Okay.
5 gun trucks I think maybe.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah. So then we had the ability to be mounted or dismounted. So
What's the mission for you guys at this point?
we were doing primarily reconnaissance and surveillance for 2-3. And
Okay.
like we're talking about like traditional green side reconnaissance and surveillance, or urban reconnaissance and surveillance.
So tell us about a day, what a day looks like for that. Are you, is this you going down, maybe a patrol, stopping, acting like you're doing 05s and 25s, and then dropping off like an OPLP out the back in a certain area? Uh,
No, we didn't really do it. We actually didn't like do kind of that stuff. We would, I mean, basically we would do a 48-hour mission, like, so 2 days on, uh, probably 2 days off ish. Depends on what the op was. Sometimes ops ran concurrent. But so we would do a 48-hour RNS. And so we'd insert under the cover of darkness,
yep.
and then foot infill wherever we were going, and then set up our hide,
Okay.
observe for um, 2 days, and then exfil, because that's all I think we were carrying 10 quarts. I feel like we were carrying 10 quarts of water at that time because it was summertime.
Gotcha.
And my hydration, like legitimately, like on the warning order, like the hydration plan was like posted on there. Like, we will have X amount of canteens done by, this time. We'd be drinking like Gatorade with the oral rehydration salts, like to the point where an hour into the movement because we were up in the mountains, so we were climbing a lot of elevation.
Ugh.
Like, hour in, right, like everyone's chugging down a full Gatorade bottle, oral rehydration salts and Gatorade, and still by the end of that op, we would be 48 hours, we'd be out of water, and you may have only pissed one time,
Oh, wow.
maybe.
Shit.
I mean,
Okay.
we're going through all that water. So we do RNS, then we would exfil, go back, wash, rinse, repeat. We went down and did a few raids with the company because they were task force raiders. So they were the generals' raid force essentially. Did some hits with them. We did
Nice.
hits with the grunts. We had, I mean, 2-3, the dudes that we worked with there, they were fantastic.
Love to hear it.
They were they were our brothers, and the sniper team that was with them, best sniper team I ever worked with ever. Like we literally thought of them as our fourth team.
Love it.
And
Are you a staff at this time?
no, I was a sergeant.
Okay.
Um, and team leader. Um, so yeah, more we did. I mean, more reconnaissance surveillance on that deployment than any recon Marine.
That's something you enjoy doing?
Yeah, my passions are reconnaissance and surveillance and CQB.
What would you say are some like are the main important things for something like that?
Um, well, in Afghanistan at that time, right? Like, how do you not get blown up? Go where the enemy doesn't expect you to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, you know, uh, always. I mean, dude,
Are you a advocate of fall the same way in, same way out?
no, no,
Because you can get back laid, you can get
that's
back
not
laid, right?
that's not right. So you have primary, alternate, tertiary
For sure.
routes. Right,
Gotcha.
like route in is not the route out, whether that's foot mobile or via vehicles.
Gotcha.
Right, and there's times where you almost have to go back on that same route, and then we got friggin' blown up when we
Yep.
did.
Get back laid.
And now is that at that time was the most heavily IED'd and kinetic area in all of Afghanistan.
So I mean you'd never seen IEDs before then, right?
Nope, not like that.
What I mean, you learn you really, dude, honestly, I learned IEDs from taking them. I learned IEDs from getting blown up, from seeing them, from being in the environment. And see, honestly, dude, that is what the Taliban was best at.
Oh
Seriously.
yeah,
The way
yeah,
they put that shit together and just
yeah,
adjusted how they implemented them, man, genius, honestly. It reminded me of a motorcycle, an old school motorcycle mechanic that would just make shit out of anything. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like, yeah,
yeah. They're like, they did what? They took the carbon fiber
yeah.
rods out of D cell batteries and they
That's
use that for a
insane.
low signature. And you're like, what is going on?
Nuts,
You know?
nuts. So,
Um,
are we getting into the incident we spoke about?
yeah, I mean, we definitely can talk about that.
Okay, so let's
You know,
let's preface this a little bit. So, one of the main things that you talk about, I mean, it means a lot to you. I mean, you get into some incidents over there where, guys die and, significant kinetic things happen. And a lot of times when that goes down, you see a breakdown in command. There's some guys that, maybe shouldn't be there or maybe, don't have the experience that's necessary. And they're in significant positions, which as you know, I mean that can really put some guys in some tricky situations. So, if you will, tell us what we're talking about here.
all right, so 2-3, we overlapped with on our deployment. So we worked for 2-3 for majority of it, and then 3-4 came in and ripped out with 2-3. Now we'd been there for 6 months probably with 2-3, and we were very tight with those guys, and we worked well together. And we thought they did a better than average rip with 3-4. And we were there, so there's continuity, right? So like we went to the sniper team
Of
leader, to
course.
the SWAT leaders, right to the commander. We're like, look, hey, we have been everywhere in this AO, right? Like here's all the NAIs that we have observed, right? Is everywhere we've been. We know everything. We've done like reconnaissance
Well versed.
surveillance. Right. We are well versed in this area. We know routes that you should go, that routes that you do not go. Right. And at that time, Nowzad, no one was there
Gotcha.
in that city. Right. Even when we had first got there, the only people that were there were dirtbags.
Gotcha.
Right? Like down in Pakistani Alley.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And right, so some of these places, right, there were like the only people there were dirtbags,
Yep.
and that was that. But at that time, there wasn't like there was no need to go in the district center to accomplish whatever mission you need to accomplish,
Okay.
right? And like look, they had a G boss, right, so they could watch the entire
You can
freaking
see the
city,
whole, yeah,
right?
exactly.
They could see
Yeah.
see all the city, right? And we like told them like the only thing in the district center, right, in Nowzad is IEDs. That's it, right? They do not need to go there. There's no reason to go there. None of that.
Period.
Right. So the sniper team that was there, they went to the district center. Now, and I mean, in all honesty, in my opinion, right, like 3-4 just like took the rip binder and just threw it out the window, or like we'll do what we want.
That happens a
That
lot.
did not help, and I'll tell you that didn't help because the MEB Sergeant Major and the RCT Sergeant Major, a couple other guys came up there shortly after 2-3 left, and they were like, and they motherfucked those dudes in the most unprofessional display I've ever seen in my entire life. And I think that they forgot that because they were like squad leaders and above, like get in there and talk to the MEB Sergeant Major and the RCT Sergeant Major, right? So like I'm in there and team leaders are in there and we're like listening to them talk shit about our boys, right? Like we've been out here freaking fighting their ass off all summer, right? Fighting, sweating, bleeding, right? Dying out there, and they're talking crap about them,
It's not easy to hear.
and like, dude, this is bullshit, man. Like, dude, you're out of your mind. Right, they come in there and talk, and like it was the most unprofessional thing I'd ever seen.
So you're unsettled to say the
I
least.
was I was pissed. I was straight up pissed off. It was just fucked up. Like there was even if it was true, it shouldn't have been done in that fashion.
Don't do it. You don't do it in that bravado,
Right.
everybody like that. So let's explain this. So if you're not military, you can understand. So what Coop's talking about here is whenever you get into a new AO and you do a rip or something like that, the guys before you kind of tell you exactly what's going on, what to look out for, where to go, what not to do. And for some reason, some people will just disregard all that information because maybe they think they know better, or maybe they think the guys before them are, garbage, whatever it be. It's stupid to do that because you're
Right.
basically neglecting solid information that can just help your guys. You
Yeah.
haven't been there. You don't know what to look for. Why are
Yeah.
you not doing a left seat, right seat with the guys before you and paying attention
Right.
to say the least?
Right. And they did that stuff. They just didn't pay attention or care, right? Or whether it was arrogance, whether it was like whatever it was, right? And we're like, hey, we're right here, right? We'll give you every single brief we have, pictures. So, I mean, what do you want? What do you need? You know what I'm saying, right? Um, so, anyways, so they sent a sniper team in the district center, and they stepped on IED,
Oh,
and it was like 5 out of 6 of them were
oh,
were injured, right? Some amputees, one
fuck.
guy's jaw blown off,
All bad,
some
all bad.
injuries, right? Yeah. So they called out the QRF.
Yep.
QRF goes out, gets blown up. So they call a second QRF, which had the shock trauma vehicles with it. They go out and I can't remember if they hit an IED or not, or if they were able to like push closer. But I feel like they hit an IED too, because there was 2 down vehicles on our way out there. So then they called us up. They're like, "Hey, recon, can you guys go can you do QRF?" Yep,
Yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
And by the way, at this time, you're not supposed to leave the wire or anything but MRAPs. And
Gotcha.
we're going, hey, diddle diddle out there with gun trucks and one MRAP. Right.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So, um, anyway, freaking, so we go out there in between that time, right, of us getting there and or us getting called out and us getting there. Shock trauma vehicles pulled as close as they could, and whoever was in that convoy, they cobbled together, and the uh, uh, first sergeant,
Yep.
got dudes out and wanted them to push to the casualty. Um, and so they're like, "Hey, we need a minesweeper," and he was like, "No push," and dude stepped on IED and
Oh,
got blown up and died. Um, so shortly after that happened, we arrived there, and my buddy's like, "Hey," my platoon sergeant's like, "Hey, first sergeant, why don't you get the LZ set up because Pedro's inbound? Because my platoon sergeant was JTAC, right? So, and he was just standing there, right, with 1,000 yard stare,
oh man.
right? And he's like, "Hey, first sergeant, why don't you set up the LZ, right? Like Pedro's inbound, right? Like, basically that's what he needs to be doing anyways." And like no response, right? Like just looking off into nowhere. And he's like, "Hey, why don't you get on the truck?" Right. And he's like, "Hey, why don't you get on the truck?" Right. He's like, "Yeah, I'll get on the truck." So he got on the truck. And then we went down. We marked like I had a lot of ID, like the probably around well over 20, I would say. Like we ran out of spray paint and we're using our magazines to mark IEDs to get to these dudes.
Wow.
Got to them, triaged them, right?
They're still on the
And
ground, not getting triaged at this
yeah,
point?
they've been on the ground for over an hour. I bet you.
Oh
I'll
my.
bet you an hour. I'll bet you it was an hour. I'll bet you it was an hour. Had to have been, maybe a little bit longer.
So as we know, anytime there's
Um,
like injuries like that, you have like a golden hour. You have that
right.
first, that golden hour is basically if you guys are bleeding out, you can still be saved. So if guys are out there fucked up, still bleeding out, that is just a
I mean,
colossal fuck up.
yep, class will fuck up. And the doc in that sniper team, he had his eardrums rupture, if I believe, because he was fucking, but he did a good job getting those dudes. You had the one dude who got his jaw freaking blown off. He freaking packed his own face, and he was on security when we pulled up there, or when
Savage,
we,
savage,
walked up there, got up to him.
savage.
We're like, hey, we got this, bro.
That's why we're Marines right there.
Yeah, and well, one of the dudes I carried out, I mean, he did not look fucking like he did not look good. And uh,
So
yeah,
just to
he didn't.
preface this, in Coop's situation, something like that when it's not your fault and it's and listen, I don't mean to point fingers to say fault, but it is what it is. It just is what it is. And when you're over there and you're just as Coop, he's like the secondary QRF, and he's there just fixing the situation, picking guys up off the ground that have been hit by and whenever you pick up a guy that's been hit with an IED, I've done it before, you just feel things separate and you feel things in their body that's not right that just make you so enraged at the situation you can't even explain it. Guys are really hurting, and it's not easy to be around an environment like that and not be emotional. It's just hard to see.
Yeah,
And go ahead.
like they use and that dude, they use like can I get some water? And I'm like, man, I can't give you water, right? That's like number one, right? Don't give a casualty water. And
Yeah.
he's like, no, it's like, dude, I've been here for a long time. Like, can I have some water? And I was like, all right, I'm gonna give you some water. I was like piss warm water out of my Nalgene.
Yep.
Um, but I was like, look, if you choke on this and you die, I
That's
will come to the
exactly.
afterlife and I will find you.
Yep.
Right? I will find you, man. Like, do not die on me. Like, promise me. And he's like, yeah, okay. So he took a couple sips of water. That's all I give him. And like, he's like, did a little cough. I'm like, don't do it. Don't do it. Um, and so we brought him back to the vehicles, got him on there, and then jumped in our vehicles and we had to back out of this alley. So I'm backing down this alley with my damn door open like a retard, right, and telling my driver like left, right, like stay in the
It's
tracks.
that bad.
Uh,
Jesus
it
Christ.
was that bad there. Yeah, it was that bad. Like it was that bad there to where when we patrolled in the district center, we had a method where you would step in the footsteps of the guy in front of you.
That's a
Like
situation you just do not go in that area.
it is that like we ran out of two tall bottles of Chemlite juice one night because we would mark them on the ground with the Chemlite juice. We'd poke holes in the top of water bottles. We'd spray the ground so you could see with your MVGs. And we went through what we didn't know was a Russian minefield, but there was IEDs and all kinds of crap in there. Like, and we were 100 yards in this thing. I was like,
Yeah.
go back. Like
Great
they
call.
were
Great call.
everywhere. And like EOD went out there like next day and was like, oh, yeah, someone didn't let us know there was no shit. Like there was a couple minefields in that area, right? But
Jesus
like there was
Christ.
IED, there was everything in that thing.
It's terrifying.
But it was that bad there. But so yeah, we're backing out, and the RM rap went past probably like 10 yards
Jeez.
past our vehicle and hit 100-pounder where we had just backed over,
Oh,
right? And that thing was so big that I freaking like I thought our vehicle lifted off. I thought we hit it. Like I was doing like the check, you know what I mean?
were
Like
you in
the
the Max Pro?
like no, I was in a gun truck.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
Right.
terrible.
And then I didn't see nobody was in the tour of the Max Pro. I didn't know, I couldn't see my gunner's leg. So I'm like yelling for him. I thought he was in a ditch over there, but it was actually the muffler of the Max Pro that got blown off and it was cocked up like this. So it looked like a leg. And like, what the fuck? And then like out of nowhere too, like the battalion commander and the gunner from like 3-4 come rolling up in an MRAP, right? And they like get out and they're like walking around. I got my window up. I'm like, hey, who the fuck are you? What are you doing? Get back in your vehicle or you're gonna fucking die. Right? Like the dude, like he's like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, Sergeant Koup with the recon platoon, right? Like, get in your fucking vehicle. You need a sweeper if you're out here. Like, you
What are
need
you
to sweep.
doing?
Oh, thank you. Right? I'm like, what the fuck is going on right now? You know, that was so. Then we had, and our Max Pro had a shitload of dudes in it. So, like, I think so on that day, 90% of our platoon had grade 2 and 3 concussions
Wow.
from that blast, and then some other mortars after that. But um, so we had to freaking get dudes off that vehicle, get them to the freaking, cascade them to the vehicles that we could, right? Get to the freaking LZ, and then carry the dudes from the vehicles to the damn bird. And like the dude I carried to the truck, same dude I carried off the truck, and I thought he was gonna fucking die.
Oh,
Like none of them died; they're all alive.
thank God.
Yeah, thank goodness. Minus the Cody Stanley who died in the alley, right? But yeah, and then we had to go out and recover the vehicles,
Oh, that must have been a
and right, and then we're getting shot at, mortar, and like the typical day. You know,
You went back out and got the vehicles too?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
what a fucking day,
yeah,
dude.
sure did, sure
Jeez.
did.
Okay, so now Coop mentioned a first sergeant that didn't decided not to use the mine roller to sweep the area, and called the guys in, and basically, pretty much the whole situation revolves around this first sergeant. Unfortunately, is the current sitting sergeant major of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major Ruiz. Now, Coop's talked about this a few times. He's gotten some comments under his videos about being an armchair quarterback or someone that's just trying to talk shit on the sergeant major of the Marine Corps. Now, that is couldn't be farther from the truth. Now, if anyone here that's listening to this has been in combat, would you not want to know about this? About if the someone that's currently the sergeant major of the Marine Corps, and I have all the respect for sergeant majors. I understand what it takes to get to that position. I'm not talking down on them at all. But if you're in a situation like this where you cause a fucking ridiculous situation like that and there's no blowback, I mean, what are we even talking about here?
So, a couple of things, right? We weren't there when Cody was killed, right? The lance corporals that were there told dudes in our platoon, told us like, hey, he sent him down there without the metal detector, without the minesweeper. Right now, not and a bunch of guys that still say that now because like before this got put out, like on Urban Valor, right? Like Josh asked around, right? Right. And there's a couple of like maybe one or two guys that are like, oh no, he had the minesweeper, but other guys are like, no, that definitely didn't happen. So and again, I wasn't there at that time for that part, right? But when I got there, okay, when I got there was a dead Marine and he was combat ineffective. He was in condition black, right? And so we took over and we took control of the scene. The platoon sergeant, my platoon commander, right, and then us team leaders, right, because all of us team leaders, all three of us and our platoon sergeants and our doc, one or both of our SARCs that we had in the platoon. Well, I had a SARC and then a NARC,
Okay.
non-amphibious reconnaissance corpsman.
Yep.
He'd
Yep.
been to BRC, but not through the rest of the pipeline yet.
Okay.
But he was actually my point man, and he's awesome.
Solid dude.
He's like the master chief of all entire
Damn.
component RSOC right now. So
Damn.
he is
Shit.
very proud of him. He's awesome.
Oh
But
yeah.
anyways, right. So um when we took charge of the scene and made things happen. Right now, yeah, there's definitely some people upset that I talked about it. And honestly, uh it's not really, that day. Is it's a It was a shitty day, right? And it's not now I'm not bringing it up 15 years later because I need to prove something or
Yeah.
anything,
Yep.
right? But I told that is my story,
Yeah.
right? That is what I was there for,
Just
and
what it
I've
is.
said that I've said that from the beginning. Now, right? He has a bronze star with a V, right? And I don't know, and I've said this before too. I don't know if it was from that deployment or maybe it was from a follow-on deployment. However, what I do know, if that Bronze Star is from that deployment and it talks about that day, then I think that there's a bit of an issue there,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
But at the end of the day, right? Uh, right, like I would talk to him about it, right? Like I think that's where people are missing the mark, right? Because like a lot of some of the guys that are upset, right? They were lance corporals then, right? And I'll say this, right? They're lance corporals then, and now maybe they're a master sergeant or maybe they're a gunny or something like that. And
Yep.
a couple of those guys are like upset. But you want to know what? Unfortunately, fellas, for them, I've got an entire platoon of recon Marines, right? The lowest ranking member of our platoon was an E4, right? They're all NCOs.
Hmm.
We'd all been in country for the last 6 months in that AO, and we knew that battle space and that battlefield. Okay. So I trust what a platoon of recon Marines tell me over a bunch of guys that are on their first deployment.
And it
Right.
sounds like those guys were under him. So
Right.
obviously,
And that's not saying that you guys aren't for that they're not awesome Marines or corpsmen. I know there's a corpsman who got very upset with me, right, for saying right for talking about it, But I'm not taking that away from you. It's just that when you're on, if you were on your first deployment or even on your second deployment, right, and you're a lance corporal or you're an E4 and below, right, and you just got in country or this is your first taste of combat, right, was this freaking like day, right? Then you're still looking through the straw, right?
exactly.
You're still looking through the straw and you're not able to see right the picture.
It's just what it is.
You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. That
Yep.
doesn't take away anything from anybody. That's just
Yep.
how it is. You know what I mean? And again, like right? Like I know that somebody on Bulls comments were like, "Oh, it's because he was a pogue or whatever," right? Well, I mean, I've had plenty of first sergeants that were pogues, right? Yes, I did mention that he was in the drill field for multiple years. Absolutely, I did. That I can't remember. I don't have no idea what his MOS was. Right? I did absolutely. I mentioned that. But what I know is that bad tactical decisions were made that day.
Period.
Okay. At the end of the day, bad tactical decisions were made that day. One, they shouldn't have been in the district center, period. There was no tactical advantage to them being in the district center, right? There was no mission from higher headquarters that said we need to do X, Y, or Z there, right? So they shouldn't have been there. Two, bad calls were made on the ground, right? And we can absolutely say, right, that bad calls get made. They absolutely do
They
get
do.
made.
Yes, they do.
And that is war and that's combat,
Yep.
right? But when a bad call gets made and something catastrophic happens, you cannot go condition black on your men,
Period.
right? You are
Yeah.
there. You are there to lead them, right? Whether what you did was right, wrong, or indifferent, you have to continue to lead your men. Period.
You have to be that voice that is just commanding that
Right.
chaos to be organized for your guys. You need to be that strong pillar for your men. Otherwise, exactly what happened happened.
Right. You know, and I don't know, when he talked on the Instagram post about the USS Helmand Province and he's recalling stuff about that day, like you're talking a lot of that he's talking about our guys, right? He's like, oh,
Really.
Marine came knocking on the hatch, and I remember that. Well, that was one of our sarks that did that, right? Like, and there's a lot of, and there was just, you know, it just I didn't it just wasn't, I don't, again, like I said, I would want to hear where his perspective
Yeah.
was about that day. And that's really the for all everyone who's what having a kerfuffle over this, right? That's what they're having, like having a freaking full
Yeah.
on helmet fire,
Yeah. No
right?
shit.
It's like I just want to talk. I just want to sit down and talk about it, right?
Yeah.
Because you know what? Who are like yeah, I mean, bad stuff has happened to all of our friends,
And
right?
you know what? Now that we preface this, dude, you just said, that's combat. Bad things happen. I've seen multiple instances of corporals, sergeants in that same type of situation making bad tactical calls, and they've been run up the fucking flagpole,
Right,
destroyed.
right,
Okay.
right. Exactly. Exactly. And so, and I think that, part of the discussion on, right, on urban valor, right, it was like part of it is like, how come guys who are meat eaters and pipe hitters don't end up making it to be Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps or
We talked about this last
high
time.
up Sergeant
Yep.
Major, right? And the simple answer, right, is that that's not what the Marine Corps wants.
True. It's
Right?
true.
They want company men, right? They
Company
want
men being
politicians,
yes men. Yes
right?
men.
They want politicians,
Yep.
right? And you and I aren't the only people, because I listened to you talk about before, right? You listened to me talk about it before, right? We're not the only people who are talking about
That's what
this,
I'm saying. I agree.
right? The Marine Corps is a institution with no teeth. They've pulled the teeth out of their attack dogs,
Yep. Yep. And listen, when it
right?
when it comes to hitters, there's a certain something that comes with it. And you got to be able to facilitate it. And for some reason, it seemed like once the GWAT, and even before the GWAT died down, they were getting pushed out, man. It was,
Yeah.
and
They're getting pushed out, and you want to know what? And people are like, well, we need people who are a little bit more refined, like because they had this huge push, right? They're like, you won't get promoted to master sergeant unless you have a bachelor's degree. Like, well, that's stupid because college is a freaking
but
joke and a
there's,
waste
yeah,
of time, right?
it
Like
is.
you telling people that you're out of your freaking mind, right? They're like, oh well, we want people who are polished, to talk to politicians, right? But you want to know what? The Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps needs to sit there in front of Congress and be like, hey, you all are, this is fucked up, right? This is fucked up. Oh, my
Fact.
barracks have mold in them, right? So why don't you give me the funding to fucking fix it?
No, no, no. We're gonna give it to Ukraine.
Right, exactly. How about that? Right? My men don't have bullets to train with because you schmucks
Yeah.
are sending it to Ukraine.
All of our stockpiles, all of everything that we need is now outsourced
Right,
to Ukraine. So
right. So and they're like that, and that's the problem. Like this is the world that we live in, right? Like and the military is a social experiment, right? You know what? Just bring it back to the don't ask, don't tell policy.
facts.
Nobody gives, no one cares what you do in your off time. None of
No,
us care.
no,
None
fuck
of
it.
us care what you do in your off time.
No, no.
You know what? You know what? You want to cut your pipe off, shut your nut bag inside of you, and put bolt on titties? I don't care. Do that. Just
Keep
do
it to
that
yourself.
after.
Like, yeah, like
Do
whatever.
that after your Marine Corps enlistment, right? Keep all that behind closed doors. Nobody, right? There's no room for that stuff in the
I
military,
can't believe we're living through this. I
right?
can't.
Like there's no room for this, right? There's wars that are going to need to be won.
We're
At the end
taking
of the
away
day,
from the main thing we're looking at here. Like,
yeah,
you see it, dude. We're gearing up for something that's coming up, dude. There's something that's going to happen. And warfare has evolved. We're looking at drones in the sky now,
dude,
dropping ordnance.
did you see what the Israelis did today? They freaking blew up over 100 or 1,000 Hezbollah with their pagers.
Oh,
Like
I
a
did hear
thousand,
about that. What
dude,
the?
like 1,000 Hezbollah pagers went off, or however many it was, and injured a couple thousand of them.
Wow.
Whatever. Either which way, it's the best freaking sabotage operation I've ever heard of in my entire life.
Holy
That's freaking
shit.
awesome. Yeah, no. So now you got to worry about that stuff too. Besides the freaking drones chasing you down like freaking vermin in the street. You
Holy
know what I mean?
shit.
I mean, we didn't. I mean, dude, like, we had to deal with IEDs. The next generation of dudes is dealing with drones.
They can't even have cell phones or any kind, like, that's just
Yeah,
wild. That's wild.
I mean, it's craziness, man. But like at the end of the day, right? Like nothing is going to beat boots on the ground.
No,
Like, look at Ukraine.
period.
Right? Look at Ukraine. Technology does not matter in the trench. Well, I mean, it
You're right.
does. Drones are chasing down all other craziness, but
But
right,
you're
but
right.
like like the trench clearing that you did when you were a PFC, or I did when I was a PFC, what I was doing before 9/11. Right, that is real training that still obviously needs to take place.
Yeah, agreed.
But you like they just don't. want meat eaters, man. They don't want people. They don't want outside. They say, oh yeah, we want outside the box thinkers. We want critical thinkers, right? That's how they say it these days. We want critical thinkers, but they don't.
No.
They don't. They want you to go along and get along, right?
You,
They want you to do
you
what.
said it perfectly, bro. You said it perfectly. They don't want anyone questioning this, the status quo. They don't want anyone to have answering the hard questions and asking the hard questions. And they just want to say a directive and everyone to listen. And you know what? We're starting to see the problem with DEI with the Secret Service. The military hasn't been tested yet, really tested in the current environment. We're going to see that soon, and we're going to see the detriment to getting all the wolves out of there, man. I guarantee it.
Yeah. Yes.
Everyone keeps getting mad at me because I keep being honest about this because guys have friends that are still in the military and they want to think the grunts are still the grunts and the Marine Corps is still good to go, which I'm sure there are factions of.
Yeah. Like I haven't. I'm like I almost like want to go down to Camp Lejeune and just go hang out with a grunt unit like for like a day
Take a
or
look.
something,
Take a look.
and just like talk to them, like get check the pulse, so to speak. Like when I was at 0320 one day, talking to the young Recondos, right? I'm like, yeah, so you guys get it. Right, they're freaking, and some of the young Raiders that I work with,
Yep.
you're like, all right, you boys uphold the standard. You're meat eaters. They're definitely different than I
Yeah.
was or you were when we were
Yep.
younger, because different generation, right? But like that standard and that it is there. So I'm like, you know what? It's still got to be there in the grunts, right? It's still got to be there. But it's the rest of the stuff that goes with it. Like dudes can want to be meat eaters all they want, but if they're stuck in the room doing Marine net
That's what
classes,
I mean.
right, and doing DEI classes and all
Get
this other
new, get
bull crap,
neutered. Yeah.
yeah, instead of for and you can't, you're not supposed to swear here.
Oh
You
my
got to worry,
God.
or even worse, right? You got to worry about some lance corporal, right? Let's say that you were doing push-ups with one of your freaking guys and yelling at them at the same time, right? And then you got to worry about somebody putting you on TikTok, and then you're getting NJP'd for hazing or something. Like that's a whole nother issue that I freaking have, right? With
Listen,
these,
the whole hazing thing, I understand some people take advantage of it. I get it for no reason.
yeah,
But hazing, unfortunately, made me the Marine that I needed to be. It made me be able to think in hard situations. It made me, and you know what? It made me kind of proud about being a Marine because I knew the rest weren't getting it like I was.
yeah, oh
You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
I got thrashed a lot. I got big mouth sometimes. I get thrashed a lot. I mean, it worked in my favor, though, but, um,
Dude, at
but
a certain at a
you know,
certain point, dude, it's like, come on.
hazing, right? Exactly.
See what
Like,
you
dude,
got.
hazing's like if I put you in your shower and I dump freaking bleach in there and all that stuff and did that, or yeah, I put my balls in your mouth. That's hazing, right? Like
Yeah.
hazing's not making a dude do some freaking push-ups because he was 5 minutes late to formation, right? Like that's not hazing. That's like, do you want paperwork or punishment?
Exactly.
You
Exactly.
know what I mean?
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, that's craziness, right? Like, and then just social media is, I think that I I've been thinking about this a lot lately, right? Because I see all these military influencers and content creators, right? And I think to myself, quite honestly, I'm like, you know what? I hope that your leadership is as good as your content creation, right? First sergeant or sergeant major or
Seriously. Seriously.
lieutenant colonel or gunnery sergeant,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Like, I hope that your leadership is just as good as your content is, because if it's not, you should stop the content and go to leading,
That's what we're seeing now, dude. We're
you
seeing
know?
it's all for the likes and it's all for the, just the
Clickbait,
flash and the bravado. And
right?
you know what, this is just some of the things I've noticed because I know there are some solid guys that are, that are doing it like we did and they're just, putting it on the, the socials, which I'm fine with.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is we just hope that the Marine Corps is able to uphold the ethos that it's meant to uphold when we were in because someone's got to do it. There's got to be someone that, barks back in the night because there are things that go bump.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and upholds that, like, the legend, right? The reputation. I mean, look at those two dudes in Turkey like 2 weeks ago.
Yep. I
That's
saw that.
embarrassing,
It
man.
is. It
That's
is.
embarrassing.
It really is.
Right? Like one of those dudes, I think, was the maintenance chief too. So he's a staff NCO. The guy who's crying help. I'm pretty sure I was the maintenance chief of that MEU. Right? He's crying help. Let me tell you something right now. If you were my libo buddy and that was going down, I'd be throwing blows and I'd be stabbing dudes.
How?
Right?
Dude,
They put
what was the backstory to that, dude? What do you know what was
a
going
group
on?
a group like a group of anti-western like youths or some crap like started yelling at them like go home, what would they say, like Anglo, they said go home English or something like
They were
that.
all fucked
they
up.
were they were just saying stupid shit, and they grabbed them and then they put a bag over the one dude's head and the guy's like yelling for help. And
I would have stabbed someone in the
like dude,
stomach right there.
yo,
Yeah,
you pulled that like you pull a bag on, put over somebody's head, like that's an intent to like
absolutely.
to kill somebody. Like I'm
Yeah,
stabbing dudes, right?
that's a threat right there. My
You're on
escalation of force bumps up a level
there
right
would
there.
have been and there should have been an
There
international
should have been a body right there. Yeah,
there should have been an international incident right there,
should have.
right? Like that should not have happened, right? Like, and that is that like that's dude, it's embarrassing. It pisses me off, right? Like to see that, like that first. I saw a thing that was like, oh, two Navy sailors. I'm like, all right, two sailors. See, I could see that happening. Then I found out it was Marines.
Yeah,
Embarrassing. How about that one?
it's a bad look right there, man. Honestly,
Yeah, man, not
and I
good.
think that's exactly what we're talking about, Coop. Honestly,
Yeah.
I really do.
You and that's terrible, bro.
Yes.
Again, right? Like if you're the, if you're out of the military, like I could care, like do use your, like guys get really upset about some dudes, like, because hey, you're supposed to be a silent professional. Well, guess what? Being a silent professional was a lie while you're in the military, and it's even more of a lie when you get out. Right.
Yeah.
If you can, hey man, if you're the dude who's making 100 grand a year because you're out telling stories about what you did in the military, hey bro, good on you. I say rock on.
Props.
Like dudes hating on you or jealous.
Yeah, that's exactly what it
You
is.
know what I mean? They're jealous that they are not doing it.
That's what it
Right.
is.
But if you're still on active duty and you're like, got 500,000 followers and you're broadcasting like your every move and you're doing this and that
I
and the other
agree.
thing, again, I just hope that you are as good as a leader and a Marine soldier, whatever you are. I hope that you are like the cream of the crop, the top, the pinnacle of everything. You know what I
As you're
mean? If you're
broadcasting.
not,
Yeah,
you should probably do a little less that content creation and do a little bit more of being good at your job. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Absolutely. So, Coop, let's transition to what you're doing now, man. I know we got
Yeah.
Hunting Carolinas going on. Talk to me about it.
Hunting Carolinas is one of the things I do. So I take folks, well, mainly Hunting Carolinas about my hunting journey, right? Like what, my adventures in hunting. But I also do take some folks hog hunting, coyote hunting. Hogs and coyotes are my two main jams. But I'll do some deer and I do some leases for bears. I do a lot of predator eradication. Shoot about 150 coyotes a year, so I'm hunting a lot.
That's dope.
Um, and then so that's pretty much that's what I do with Hunting Carolinas. And then I co-founded and the president of the Reason Outdoors. So that's a 501c3
That's awesome.
nonprofit, and we take veterans and first responders and their kids on ecotherapy
Nice.
trips. Uh,
Nice.
so hunting and fishing and
Love it.
outdoor activities. So
Oh, dope.
yeah. So getting like after I got messed up in that accident, I was sitting home in a dark place, eating pills, drinking booze,
Yep,
and
I hear
needed to
you.
do
Been there.
something to clear my head. So I grabbed a bow, started hobbling around the woods, and I've been hunting ever since.
Love to hear it, man. We
Yeah,
all got to find our little niche, after we get out to
yeah,
try to, just feed the beast a little bit. And I think
yeah.
that's what it is for you. And
You
I
know,
love seeing you do it.
and getting freaking I could take Army, Marine, Navy, throw a cop in there, right, and put them on a hunting trip for a weekend. And by the end of the weekend, they're gonna be best friends.
Yep.
Been in the outdoors, hopefully harvested or some animals or caught some fish, right? Learned how to clean them, cook them, do all that,
Yeah, that's awesome.
right? Some great camaraderie, some healing.
I'm gonna have to come down there, man, and see what you got going on one of these days.
Oh
I'd love
yeah,
to do that with you.
hell yeah,
But well, hey, man, I want to thank you for taking the time and coming on the podcast. I love talking to you, bro. And
yeah, man. Same.
we'll put this out, see how it does, and I'd love to stay up to date with you, man.
Cool.
We'll get another conversation in here soon, and
All right.
keep your head down, brother. Semper Fi, and have a good night.
Semper Fi. You too, brother.
All right, man.
All right, bye.